in our headlines on this Tuesday, January 21st, here in South Korea. President Yoon Suk-yeol attends his impeachment trial at the Constitutional Court for the first time as the third hearing takes place on this Tuesday. Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, and in his inauguration speech on Monday local time, he pledges to, quote, put America first. And on day one at the top office, Mr. Trump signs a series of executive initiatives, including one that withdraws the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord again. We start at the Constitutional Court, where President Yoon Suk-yeol's third hearing took place this afternoon in his presence for the first time. For more on the impeachment trial, I have our Oh Soo-young standing by live on site. Soo-young, welcome. Let's begin with this unprecedented event of the president partaking in his own impeachment trial to defend himself.
Good afternoon, Sunny. Yes, for the first time in South Korean history, the nation's elected leader, the sitting leader, came to the Constitutional Court to defend himself against impeachment. Yoon arrived at the Constitutional Court at around 1:20 p.m. to attend Tuesday's hearing, which was the third session in his impeachment trial. And avoiding the public eye, the president He entered the court through the underground car park escorted by the Presidential Security Service, and there were increased police patrols and metal barricades surrounding the court to keep his supporters at a distance. Now, each of the 8 justices on the bench also have individual police protection throughout the trial after violence by protesters at the Seoul Western District Court over the weekend. And as he said, it's unprecedented on many different levels, as he's also the first president to be under arrest while facing an impeachment trial. It's a truly fascinating situation where we're seeing the prosecutor turned president make his case to justices as a pre-trial inmate.
Right, Seung. That being said, so what did the president say?
Well, as the session began, the president gave a short introductory remark telling the justices that throughout his career in public service, he'd always held deep conviction of the country's liberal democratic order, and he asked the judges to review his matter carefully. And he said that during the session, the acting Chief Justice asked him 2 questions: whether the president had given the finance minister a note to prepare a budget for an emergency legislative body, and whether he'd ordered military commanders to drag out lawmakers from the National Assembly. Yoon denied both cases and said that he did not. During the hearing, the president's lawyers outlined various points that they claim substantiate Yoon's martial law decree, which they plan to back with witnesses and evidence. First, they cited the opposition-led National Assembly's abuse of impeachment power against high-ranking officials, its indiscriminate budget cuts for key military, nuclear energy and welfare programs considered essential to the country's future, public livelihoods and safety. They also underscored what was described as hybrid warfare, as a new type of national crisis that poses security, economic and political threats. Examples include the leakage of classified military intelligence and critical technologies to China. Now, the legal team presented images and accounts of suspected electoral fraud in the parliamentary race last year, with Yoon further emphasizing the need to investigate the National Election Commission. The National Assembly's panel, meanwhile, continued to stress that Yoon's process of declaring martial law was illegal. It cited media reports, investigation records, and showed CCTV footage from the National Assembly and the Election Commission to back its arguments that Yoon had planned and caused disruption to the country's constitutional institutions. They further argued that the president's claims of election fraud are dangerous to democracy and should not be raised in the trial, and later criticized Yoon's attendance as they walked out of the hearing.
Right, and Seung, despite the criticism, will the president be partaking in future hearings as well?
Well, yes, in principle, according to his lawyers. They said that he would attend every trial hearing if possible. But we're going to have to wait and see about that, as today's attendance as well, it came rather unexpectedly, as the president's lawyers have previously said that the president would attend the trial hearings when it's an appropriate time and when the main arguments for the trial were organised to a certain extent. And he was also not expected to attend every hearing, so it appears that following his arrest, the president perhaps felt compelled to speak out, perhaps by frustration at his detention. In fact, his move appears to assert his position that he will not answer to the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials who attained his arrest warrant and are now detaining him for questioning. Presumably, their cooperation is needed, though, for Yoon to attend future hearings that fall into his 20 days of detention. But as unprecedented as this situation is, there is no clear procedure for this. For now, there are hearings scheduled every Tuesday and Thursday until February 13th, excluding next week as it's the Lunar New Year holiday.
All right, Seong, thank you for the latest regarding the president's attendance of the third hearing on his impeachment trial at the Constitutional Court on this Tuesday. Right, we move now to the Seoul Detention Center for the latest regarding the investigation into the president's abuse of office. For this, Arirang's Hae-ryang joins me live. Hae-ryang, welcome. Let's start with the attempt back on Monday, I believe, by anti-corruption investigators to take the president to their headquarters for questioning.
Yes, Sunny. So yesterday they failed to take Yoon in for questioning from the Seoul Detention Center where I'm standing currently, and the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials announced that they would not attempt to do so again, at least this morning, in light of President Yoon's scheduled appearance at the Constitutional Court for his impeachment trial hearings. Now, during a press briefing, an official from the CIO stated that there is a possibility that a forced summons attempt could be made after the hearing concludes, but did not confirm any specific plans. And this comes following a 6-hour standoff with 6 CIO prosecutors and investigators who visited the Seoul Detention Center at 3 p.m. to forcibly take President Yoon in for questioning. But the CIO eventually withdrew as Yoon refused to cooperate and resistance from the president's legal team. The CIO official emphasized the need to conduct a face-to-face questioning, emphasizing that while President Yoon may be the sitting president, he is also a suspect, and that investigating suspects is a fundamental duty of the law enforcement. As the Constitutional Court plans to hold impeachment hearings twice a week, and Yoon's stated intention is to attend these sessions and prepare arguments with his defense team, there has been speculation that he may continue to avoid cooperating with the CIO investigation. The CIO has currently not ruled out conducting on-site investigations at the detention center, as seen in cases involving former presidents in similar circumstances, but they are currently not considering conducting investigations in written form.
I see. And Hae-ryang, what has been the response from the president's team thus far with regard to the efforts by anti-corruption investigators?
So in a social media post this morning, one of President Yoon's lawyers criticized the CIO for their attempts to take President Yoon in for questioning, and he further emphasized that he would take steps necessary during his meeting with President Yoon this morning here at the Seoul Detention Center in order to prevent any improper forced summons from the CIO. Now, Yoon's legal team has also been very critical of the CIO for prohibiting visits for the detained president for anyone other than his legal representatives, arguing that restricting family meetings unrelated to the charges of insurrection is a vindictive act rather than a legitimate investigative measure, and have demanded the immediate revocation of such a decision. The CIO has also decided to ban Yoon from sending or receiving correspondence. The CIO has cited concerns over potential evidence tampering as a reason for imposing these restrictions, but Yoon's attorney said that these allegations are baseless and unjust.
Right. Hae-ryang, one final question before you leave us. What's the latest regarding the rioters who staged a violent protest in the early hours of Sunday at the Seoul Western District Court that Seong mentioned earlier?
Yes, Sunny. So following the violent intrusion into the Seoul Western District Court, in protest of the arrest warrant being issued for President Yoon, it looks as though all those that were detained at the incident are now facing possible arrest. The Seoul Western District Prosecutor's Office reportedly filed arrest warrants the previous day for 46 individuals who were apprehended for storming the courthouse and damaging property. An additional 17 individuals who blocked vehicles belonging to the CIO, assaulted police officers, and trespassed over the court's walls are also facing warrants, bringing the total to 63. Police had earlier requested arrest warrants for 66 out of the 90 individuals detained, but prosecutors rejected 3 of those requests, citing the need for further investigation in certain cases. Authorities are continuing their investigation into the protests and have pledged to hold all responsible parties accountable. And that's all I have for now, but I'll be back in a later newscast with more updates. So back to you, Sunny.
All right, Hae-ryung, thank you for that coverage. That was our Moon Hae-ryung with the latest on the investigation led by the Anti-Graft Office. Donald Trump has been sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, and in his inauguration speech, he shared some of his plans for the next 4 years with a pledge to, quote, put America first. Our Kim Jung-sil has more on that message.
And repeat after. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Donald Trump has been sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, marking the beginning of a new chapter in American leadership. Trump's inaugural address set the tone for his next 4 years, echoing the core message of his first term, America First.
The golden age of America begins right now. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Shortly after his inauguration, the White House unveiled a revamped website with the bold declaration, America is back, promising to fight for a stronger, safer, and more prosperous nation. Key priorities for Trump's second term include securing the border and reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy, which requires certain asylum seekers to stay in Mexico while their cases are processed in U.S. immigration courts. Trump also vowed to address crime by cracking down on cartels and protecting law enforcement officers. And he pledged to enhance America's energy independence and prioritize domestic interests through regulatory reforms and his America First trade policy. His second term will focus on strengthening the nation's global position with a commitment to peace through strength, a vision of security supported by military and economic dominance. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Up next, we take time now to learn more about the 2 men behind the posts of President and Vice President of the U.S. for the next 4 years. Our Ishihu has details.
Donald Trump was born in 1946 to a wealthy American family running a real estate business. He gained wide popularity in the early 2000s through his star role on reality TV. The image of a successful businessman he cultivated on television propelled his political career. In 2016, Trump ran for the presidency and won against Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. His catchphrase both then and now, America First.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America First. America First.
Upon entering the White House, Trump rolled back many of the preceding Obama administration's policies. He signed tax cuts for businesses, withdrew from the Paris Agreement on climate change, and boosted the production of fossil fuels. He adopted a strict immigration policy, partially building walls along the U.S.-Mexico border to stop migrants from seeking asylum. At the end of his first term, Trump entered the 2020 presidential race but lost to Joe Biden. 4 years later, in 2024, Trump declared he was running again for all of America.
I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America.
During his campaign, Trump survived 2 assassination attempts, one at a Pennsylvania campaign rally in July. His message continued unrattled.
4 more years of incompetence, and stupidity, and failure and disaster, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
Trump ultimately claimed victory in the election on November 6th. Helping Trump to win in Rust Belt swing states, Vice President J.D. Vance, a former Ohio senator who entered the public eye with his 2016 memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. In this memoir, Vance raised questions about social disintegration and economic insecurity among working-class Americans. He continued to vow support for the working class during the campaign last year. The New York businessman and the Rust Belt senator now stand together to face key tasks in America, just as culturally and socioeconomically diverse as the duo. Lee Si-hu, Arirang News.
And within hours of entering the top office, President Trump was quick to flex his presidential powers with a flurry of executive initiatives. Our Kim Bo-kyung covers a few of them.
Right after being sworn in as the 47th U.S. president, Donald Trump wasted no time in signing a number of executive orders. At the Capital One Arena in Washington, he revoked what he called 78 destructive and radical executive actions made by the previous administration, one of which was directing the U.S. to again withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. This is the second time he's done so, having exited it in his first term in 2017, only for then-President Biden to rejoin the agreement in 2021.
But I'm immediately withdrawing from the unfair one-sided Paris Climate Accord ripoff. The United States will not sabotage our own industries while China pollutes with impunity.
At the Oval Office, he signed several orders, including a far-reaching immigration agenda. Just hours after his inauguration speech, where he emphasized prioritizing a crackdown on illegal immigration, he signed an order declaring a national emergency at the southern border.
We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
He also came up with new strategies, like ending birthright citizenship and halted a Biden-era application, the CBP-1, which has been used by nearly 1 million migrants to enter America. In terms of trade, Trump did not immediately impose tariffs on other countries, but said his administration is considering imposing 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada starting February 1st. He did order federal agencies such as Commerce and Treasury Departments and USTR to review existing trade agreements and recommend any necessary or appropriate revisions to secure or maintain what he called reciprocal and mutually advantageous concessions with partner countries under free trade agreements. Trump also took aim at electric vehicles, revoking Biden's 2021 executive order that sought to ensure half of all new vehicles sold in the states by 2030 were electric, and again reversed Biden's decision to remove Cuba from a blacklist of state sponsors of terrorism. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Leaders worldwide are welcoming the Trump administration back into the White House, and the response from the presidents of Ukraine and Russia have received quite a bit of attention. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Donald Trump on Monday became just the second U.S. president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in the White House when he was sworn in during his inauguration ceremony. World leaders were quick to congratulate the 47th U.S. president. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took to his social media to note the opportunity the 2 neighboring countries have in working together to create more jobs and prosperity. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated Trump, saying he believes the U.S. and Israeli alliance will grow to even greater heights. Calling the U.S. its closest ally, Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz said the aim of the two countries is to have a good transatlantic relationship. Prime Minister Keir Starmer stressed Trump's long-standing affection and historical ties to the UK, adding that such depth of friendship will continue. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who was present at the inauguration, noted that the friendship and values that the two countries share will continue to strengthen their cooperation. But much of the attention was on what the leaders of Russia and Ukraine had to say on Trump's inauguration day. Russian President Vladimir Putin not only congratulated Trump on his return to the White House, but also said he's open to hold talks regarding the war in Ukraine.
We have never refused dialogue. We have always been ready to maintain an attitude of cooperation with any American administration. We are also open for dialogue with the new US administration on the Ukraine conflict. The most important thing here is to address the root cause of the crisis that we have spoken about many times.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky was also quick to congratulate Trump. The Ukrainian leader noted that Trump has always been decisive, adding that Trump would provide an opportunity to strengthen American leadership and achieve long-term peace. Zelensky also expressed hope that the two countries can work together to provide greater security, stability, and economic growth to the world and the two nations. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Korea's exports declined during the first 20 days of January, according to the Korea Customs Service on this Tuesday. The total value of exports during this period amounted to $31.6 billion, down over 5% on year. Pundits are linking the performance to fewer working days and believe the overall monthly performance will remain sluggish amid the extended Lunar New Year holiday during the final week of this month. Now, prior to this month, exports expanded for 15 months in a row. Producer prices rose for the second month in a row in December amid the weakening Korean won. According to the Bank of Korea on this Tuesday, the producer price index, a barometer of inflation, gained 0.3% on month in December. Agricultural, livestock and fisheries goods saw the highest jump in prices last month, soaring 2.8% on month. Now, on year, the producer price index climbed 1.7% last month.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Pope Francis has strongly criticized U.S. President Donald Trump's plans for mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. He described the plans as a disgrace in an interview on Italian television on Sunday ahead of Trump's inauguration. Speaking from the Vatican, the Pope emphasized the human cost of the plan to deport millions of undocumented immigrants from the United States. He said this is not the way to solve things. President Trump is starting off his second term with several executive orders, including ones to accelerate deportations and enhance border security. In response, Pope Francis urged world leaders to focus on addressing the root causes of migration rather than punishing vulnerable people. Despite his criticisms, the Pope extended a congratulatory message to President Trump on Monday, the day of his inauguration, praying that Trump's leadership fosters unity and compassion in addressing global challenges. In Taiwan, a 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck the southern region early on Tuesday, leaving 15 people with minor injuries. Taiwan's Central Weather Administration recorded the quake struck at 12:17 a.m., roughly 38 kilometers southeast of Jiayi County Hall, and with a depth of 9.7 kilometers. A 5.2 magnitude aftershock also occurred over an hour after the initial quake. The tremor resulted in 15 minor injuries, with 6 people rescued from a collapsed house in Nanxi District, Tainan City. Workers in this district, including those in the TSMC factory, have reportedly been evacuated. Last April, Taiwan suffered its strongest earthquake in 25 years, a 7.4 magnitude quake near Hualien City that led to at least 18 deaths. Tanzania's president confirmed on Monday that 1 out of more than 20 samples taken in the north of the country had tested positive for the infectious Marburg disease. That validated a WHO report on the 14th of this month, in which it said it suspected an outbreak of Marburg in Tanzania's Kagera region, following 8 deaths manifesting symptoms in line with the virus. Initially, Tanzanian health officials denied the presence of the virus, citing negative test results. Marburg virus, similar to Ebola, is a highly contagious pathogen that causes high fever and bleeding and has a fatality rate of up to 90%. In the U.S., on the eve of her husband's inauguration as president, Melania Trump introduced her own cryptocurrency, the Melania meme coin. She posted on X on Sunday that the official Melania meme is live. The announcement follows Donald Trump's launch of his own meme coin ahead of his inauguration. According to CoinMarketCap, Trump's meme coin has a total market value of about $12 billion, while Melania's meme coin stands at around $1.7 billion. Despite previously calling cryptocurrency a scam, Trump became the first presidential candidate to accept digital assets as donations during his 2024 election campaign. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
It's relatively mild, but on the way to work this morning, fog and ultrafine dust were rampant. With the atmosphere stagnant, the air stays murky across the country today. In the Seoul metropolitan area and Chungcheongnam-do province, preliminary measures to reduce the high concentration of fine dust are in place for the first time this winter. Please pay special attention to traffic safety by keeping a safe distance when driving. In particular, some parts of Seoul metropolitan area have soared to very bad ultrafine dust levels, with ultrafine dust advisories issued as well. Tomorrow, this dusty air will fill out the skies in most areas. You need to wear a protective mask outside. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 0 degrees Celsius, Busan and Jeju 3 degrees. Daytime temperatures will move up to 7 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon. Gwangju will reach 10 degrees. It is expected to rain or snow along the East Coast later this week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching.